Marc Guéhi to Manchester City. Here we go.
Marc Guéhi is now a Manchester City player. The same defender who captained Crystal Palace to an FA Cup victory over Manchester City has been brought inside the machine. This isn't some panic buy or flashy transfer saga. This is the final piece of a 414 million rebuild, and honestly, it might be the one that makes Guardiola's City backline untouchable again. Guéhi's not the type whose stats scream at you. They whisper, but they dominate. 20 games, 1,800 minutes, 0 red cards, 103 duels won, 53 headers claimed, 30 tackles, 25 interceptions, 10 blocks. He doesn't scramble, he controls. On the ball, 1,064 passes, 85% accuracy. He breaks lines, kills pressure, and sparks counters before the opponent even settles. And here's the part most defenders never get praised for: 2 goals, 2 assists, 2.03 XG, touches in the box. Moments that flip matches, not because he forces them, but because he sees danger coming before anyone else does. City don't need warm bodies at the back, they need certainty. With injuries piling it up, the title race tightening, and Arsenal out front, Pep isn't taking chances. He's locking the back door. This isn't just about why City signed Marc Guéhi, it's about how this one signing could shift the entire title race, reshape their defense, and shut down the exact spaces teams need to exploit if they want to survive against City. This is how breaking through City's defense just became the toughest ask in English football. Marc Guéhi isn't walking into Manchester City as a gamble or a work in progress. He's not some raw talent still figuring it out. He's arriving as a complete Premier League center back, someone who's been through the fire, led teams under serious pressure, and carried responsibility season after season. Born in Abidjan, raised in South London, Guéhi's football journey was never rushed. Chelsea's academy gave him the technical foundation and defensive basics, but it was his time away from Stamford Bridge that really made him. At Swansea City, still just a teenager, he faced the toughest lessons a defender can get: defending without cover, bouncing back from mistakes, leading backlines with zero room for error. Over 2 championship seasons, he played every single minute of Swansea's playoff runs, building the kind of composure that would become his calling card. When Crystal Palace came calling in 2021, they weren't buying potential, they were buying someone ready now. From day one, Guéhi became the anchor in their defense. He formed one of the Premier League's most dependable partnerships, barely missed a game, and by 24, he had the armband. That's not a small thing. Palace didn't give him the captaincy out of sentiment. They gave it to the player everyone trusted when things got messy. By the 2024-25 season, Guéhi wasn't just a defender anymore. He was Palace's leader. He captained them to their first major trophy, lifting the FA Cup after beating Manchester City in the final. That's not just a nice story, it matters. Guéhi has already gone toe-to-toe with this City side in a final under maximum pressure against the most organized attack in England, and won. The stats back up what the eyes see. This season alone, 20 appearances, 1,800 minutes, 103 duels won, 53 aerial battles claimed, 0 red cards. That discipline is huge. City don't want defenders who bail themselves out by fouling. They want guys who read danger before it arrives. Guéhi's 25 interceptions and 10 blocks show exactly that, and with 85% pass accuracy over 1,064 passes, he's not just safe on the ball, he's reliable in build-up without taking stupid risks. What makes Guéhi different from a lot of center backs is his balance. He's not some wrecking ball who panics when pressed, and he's not a pretty passer who drifts out of defensive battles either. His numbers tell the story: high defensive output without chaos, progression without sloppiness. Even his attacking contributions, 2 goals, 2 assists, 2.03 XG, aren't flashy runs forward. They're just proof that opponents can't leave him unmarked. Internationally, it gets even clearer. Guéhi was England's most consistent defender at Euro 2024, trusted in knockout rounds, paired with world-class center backs, and praised for staying calm when everything was on the line. That tournament erased any lingering questions about how high his ceiling actually is, and that's exactly why this move makes sense. Manchester City aren't rebuilding, they're protecting what they've built. They don't sign defenders who need time to grow into pressure, they sign defenders who've already lived in it. Pep Guardiola didn't walk into January looking for a big name, he was looking for the answer to a geometry problem. Manchester City's defense has never been about center backs throwing themselves into tackles or winning last gasp headers. It's about controlling space so tightly that opponents never even get to those moments. This season, that control got disrupted, not because because the quality dropped, but because the continuity did. The breaking point came in that 1-1 draw with Chelsea. City lost 2 senior center backs in the same match. Guardiola later confirmed Ruben Dias would be out for up to 6 weeks, and reports described Josko Gvardiol's injury as a tibial fracture. With John Stones already sidelined, City were suddenly scrambling with emergency lineups and academy kids, all while sitting 6 points behind Arsenal in the title race. That context matters, but it's not why Guéhi makes sense. The real reason is tactical. When City have the ball, they're often in a 2-3-5 shape, 2 defenders holding the halfway line, 3 players behind the ball to cover counters, and 5 attacking the final third. When it works, teams can't breathe. When it doesn't, the pitch feels massive, especially in the channels between fullback and center back, and in that dangerous second wave space at the top of the box. In City's recent draws, the pattern's been painfully familiar. The opponent survives the first press, plays it early to a wide runner or into the half space, and suddenly City's backline is defending backwards. The one thing Guardiola absolutely hates. You don't fix that with some bruiser who just clears everything. You fix it with a defender who reads the play early and kills transitions at the source. That's where Guéhi fits. At Palace, Guéhi's game is all about timing, stepping in exactly when the receiver's body shape commits, using angles to push play away from danger zones, and staying balanced so he can recover if the first challenge doesn't stick. For City, that means 3 immediate upgrades. Earlier pressure on the first pass after City lose possession. Cleaner control of the half space, where elite teams create cutbacks. Less panic defending, which means fewer fouls, fewer set pieces, less chaos in the box. And here's the kicker. City moved quickly because the timing was perfect. Guéhi's in the final months of his contract, so a fee around £20 million is seen as serious value. England international who can slot in right away. Guardiola tends to use 2 types of center backs. The aggressive, front foot defender who holds a high line and wins the first duel. The calm organizer who keeps everything together when things get messy. Guéhi does both, and he doesn't need to be converted into some hybrid midfielder to do it. In a 4-3-3, he can play right center back and step into the lane behind the right back when City build with a tucked-in fullback. In a 3-2 build-up, he can be the outside center back, protecting the channel and dealing with those long diagonals teams used to escape City's press. The practical result, City can keep their attacking structure higher for longer because they trust the backline won't get dragged into desperate sprint and pray defending that turns possession football into a coin flip. When City are chasing games late, especially against packed defenses, opponents stop trying to play out and just try to survive. That's when City become most vulnerable to one specific pattern: a cleared ball into the channel, 1 runner, 1 supporting midfielder, and suddenly it's 2v2 or 3v3 with 40 meters of open space. A title race center back has to win those moments in 3 different ways. Stop the runner without giving away a stupid foul, delay long enough for the midfield to recover, or read it early and snuff it out completely. Guéhi was signed for that third option. The less City have to recover, the more they can control. City's January business has been described as assertive, not reactive. Guardiola wanted to protect the system that wins titles, not just patch a temporary hole. That's why the reporting around this deal emphasizes it wasn't rushed. City have been tracking Guéhi for a long time, but the defensive injury crisis just sped up the timeline, and the stakes are crystal clear. With Arsenal ahead and City needing points now, a defender who can walk straight into Guardiola's most demanding requirements, high-line discipline, transition control, build-up composure, does way more than just add depth. He changes how brave City can afford to be again. If you want to understand why Pep Guardiola wanted Marc Guéhi now, mid-title race, mid-injury crisis, you don't start with highlight reels, you start with pressure moments, because that's where center backs either fade into the background or become the solution. Guéhi's time at Palace has given us several moments that directly translate into what City are trying to get back. Control under pressure, clean decisions when the game gets messy, and leadership when you're up against someone supposedly better than you. That's big game center back behavior, not because of one tackle, but because the team's defensive structure held together through the chaos. Why it matters for City. City don't lose control because they stop passing. They lose it when opponents force them into emotional defending, panicked clearances, late fouls, broken spacing. A defender who's already organized a deep defensive performance against City's structure in a final is unusually credible as a ready-made solution for Guardiola. Another key moment, Aston Villa 0-3 Crystal Palace in August 2025. right in the middle of serious transfer rumors. Sky Sports called it a standout captain's performance. Guéhi scored a fine goal and Palace grabbed their first league win of the season. That goal even got nominated for Premier League Goal of the Month. It's not about the goal itself, it's about the mentality. A captain playing like nothing else is happening, delivering on the pitch while the noise is swirling everywhere. January signings usually arrive with pressure. Media pressure, immediate expectations, zero time to settle. Guardiola trusts players who stay emotionally level and just get on with it. Guéhi's tournament run with England at Euro 2024 matters because knockout football is where Guardiola's City have repeatedly lived or died. England's own coverage highlighted how strong he started and how he talked about keeping his standards high. Sky Sports' profile called him a standout, repeatedly tying his value to composure. Champions League knockout ties aren't just won with tactics. They're won with defenders who can manage those brutal 10-minute storms when the opponent has momentum and the stadium's trying to drag you into mistakes. This is where comparisons become useful. Not to say Guéhi is already Company, Ferdinand, or Ramos, but to explain the role. Company was City's emotional anchor. When the game got wild, he cooled it down. Ferdinand was elite at controlling space with early reads, winning duels before they even became duels. Ramos was the ultimate moment manager, owning the box, dominating the key actions, leading under siege. Guéhi's version is quieter and more modern. He manages the spacing first. And that's exactly what Guardiola wants, because City's press only works when the backline stays confident enough to hold the line and squeeze the pitch. With key center backs out, City have had to defend more cautiously at times. Less squeezing, more retreating, more just survive the transition. The Guardian and Reuters reporting around the transfer directly links City's push for Guéhi to the central defense injury mess. Guéhi changes the psychology. Midfielders press harder when they trust what's behind them. Fullbacks lock on tighter when they know the channel is covered. The whole team gets brave again. This is the crucial point. Guardiola's system is demanding, but it's also specific. When a defender is calm, the rest of the team plays tighter together. When the defender's jittery, the block stretches, and City become beatable. Guéhi has shown in a final against City in a high-pressure league match while transfer talk raged, and in major international knockout football, that he doesn't need perfect conditions to stay organized. Marc Guéhi isn't arriving to help City defend. City already know how to defend. He's arriving to restore the thing that makes Guardiola teams suffocating, the ability to win the opponent's escape route again and again until the game feels like it has no exit. Marc Guéhi is not arriving at Manchester City to be molded. He is arriving to steady something that was already elite but momentarily fractured. This is why Pep Guardiola trusts him, not because of reputation, not because of hype, but because Guéhi has already shown the qualities that decide titles and knockouts. Calm when momentum turns, clarity when space disappears, and leadership when the margin for error is gone. Finals, elimination matches, hostile grounds, pressure stretches where one mistake ends a season. These are not theories in his career. They are lived experiences. City's rebuild has been about restoring control, lowering chaos, raising certainty, and removing the emotional swings that opponents try to exploit. Guéhi fits that vision precisely. He does not defend loudly. He defends correctly. He manages space before danger forms, organizes others without drama, and allows the rest of the team to play braver football because the back door is locked. That is how great City sides were built, not just on talent, but on defenders who could manage games the way Company once did, the way Ferdinand controlled territory, the way Ramos dominated moments, each in their own style, each trusted because pressure never broke them. This signing is not about January points alone. It is about restoring City's most feared quality, the feeling opponents get when they survive the press. Look up and realize there is nowhere left to go, and if that control returns, this title race and Europe may already be tilting back toward Manchester.